Bulabinaka, my name is Litia and I'm from the beautiful island of Laos and I love listening to Today FM. Today FM rock.
My name is Casey, I'm from Tabua. We love Today FM in Tabua. Today FM rocks.
My name is Selina, I'm from Tavenga Vengamba. I love listening to Today FM. Today FM rocks.
Pula, my name is Carlo. I love listening to the music in Today FM, in Malak Island. Today FM rock.
Today's hit music on Today FM.
In the news tonight, climate assessment study highlights Fiji's vulnerabilities. Non-state actors reaffirm climate commitments. And heavy rain causes flooding in Suva area.
From the studios of FBC Suva, Amrita Sagar.
Our annual losses due to extreme weather events could reach 6.5% of GDP by 2050 as a result of the impacts of climate change. This has been highlighted in a new climate vulnerability study that was launched by Minister responsible for climate change, Ayaz Sayed Qayyum, at COP23 in Bonn, Germany. Ritika Pratap reports.
The findings of Fiji's first ever climate vulnerability assessment reveal that we need an estimated $9.3 billion over the next 10 years to build the resilience and capacity to adapt to climate change. This is almost equivalent to 100% of the country's GDP for a year.
Collectively, Fiji recognizes the glaring reality that confronts us, and so adapting to the climate change is an absolute necessity. The Climate Vulnerability Assessment Report comes at an opportune time as it complements our rebuild efforts post-Cyclone Winston.
The report, which has been prepared in partnership with the World Bank and the Global Facility for Disaster Reduction and Recovery, provides a significant new analysis for Fiji's vulnerability to climate change.
This is what Fiji's Climate Vulnerability Assessment seeks to do. It will inform our development planning and investment decisions. It pilots a methodology to assess climate and disaster vulnerability and design climate change adaptation and risk management plans and strategies.
The assessment also identifies 125 measures across 5 priority areas. Sayed Qayyum says this is critical for climate and risk-informed development to strengthen the resilience of the Fijian economy.
So it is very, very important that if you are going to embark on some major capital investment, you need to be able to understand whether that capital asset will in fact be relevant in 5 or 10 years' time, in particular with the uptake of technology, in particular with the vulnerabilities of climate change.
The assessment was launched at COP23 alongside a 360-degree virtual reality experience, Our Home, Our People. The VR film and storytelling project is designed to transport COP23 delegates, decision makers, and the global community to Fiji to see the impacts of climate change for themselves. Ritika Pratap, FBC News.
Despite U.S. President Donald Trump's announcement to withdraw from the Paris Agreement, a coalition of U.S. cities, states, businesses and investors stepped forward to reaffirm their commitment to reach the Paris goal. In line with this, the Special Envoy for Cities and Climate Change, Michael Bloomberg, and California Governor Jerry Brown released their first report on America's pledge, highlighting the progress made.
The non-state actors in the U.S. have taken matters in their own hands. That is keeping America on track to meet its Paris Agreement carbon reduction goals. The move has been welcomed by COP23 President Voringe Bainimarama.
Something wonderful is happening at COP23. The parties that are pressing for greater ambition have been joined by so many non-party actors with a power to make a difference. And America's pledge is a fine example of this new dynamic.
The report highlights the U.S. is already halfway to the goal they set in Paris to reduce carbon emissions from 26 to 28% by 2025. It says the progress has not been driven by top federal mandates, but by the non-state actors. Bainimarama says America's pledge sends a very powerful message to the world that they are still in the game.
Around me today are Americans who have the interest of their fellow citizens at the forefront of their endeavors. And within the Grand Coalition, we are showing that we can assemble the power of ideas, the power of organization, and the power of, most importantly, of political will.
He says the pledge is another milestone achievement towards the set targets. As the host of COP23, Bainimarama has formally opened the negotiation process at COP23 to non-state actors. Ritika Pratap, FBC News.
From the COP23 presidency perspective, Fiji will launch the Oceans Pathway at the Fiji Pavilion in Bonn, Germany on Thursday to ensure that oceans get into the UNCCC's process by 2020. Speaking at the EU Oceans Day, Minister responsible for climate change, Aya Said Kayum, said parties, non-state actors and experts need to work together to make this happen. He says the Ocean Pathway also calls for high ambition on actions for a healthy ocean at 1.5 degrees.
At the same time, we want those who use or are impacted by the ocean to step up on actions. Marine transportation, fisheries management and food security, protected areas and habitat restoration, blue carbon and the management of these reserves. These are critical contributions to the future of our planet.
Sayed Kayum also highlighted the effects of climate change on the sugarcane industry and the steps taken to mitigate this at the Fair Trade International event.
We need to ensure that whatever responses we have, and whether it's fair trade and whoever else it is, there needs to be sustainability into the responses we do build. And there also needs to be local capacity building in the ability to respond.
Heavy rain around the country today caused major flooding in greater parts of Suva and Lami areas. Carnarvon Street, Ellery Street, Bhindi subdivision in Vatuanga, as well as Gawia village in Lami were some of the areas that were flooded. People were left stranded in bus bays and higher grounds as they waited for water to recede. In light of this, a heavy rain warning is still in force for eastern and southern Viti Levu and nearby smaller islands, Kandavu, western and southern Vanuatu, Lau and the Lomai Viti group. The Fiji Met Office confirms a trough of low pressure with associated cloud and rain remains slow moving over Fiji. It is expected to gradually weaken as it affects the group for the next few days. Localized heavy falls may lead to flash flooding. Be prepared. Some local farmers are not aware of the effects of climate change on their agricultural productions and productivity. The Worldwide Fund for Nature project manager Vinesh Kumar says many farmers are currently losing crops due to the rising temperatures and unexpected weather patterns. Kumar says they have initiated programs and are working with all farmers on how they can fight the man-made disaster.
Climate change will impact agriculture to a large extent in terms of the sedimentation runoff from the sugarcane farms and the agriculture sectors into the river systems and the Great Sea Reef areas. So basically it has an adverse impact on agriculture, leading to declining in yields, in productivity, in revenue losses, and also in terms of infrastructure damage and loss.
Still to come, work underway to have more street lights. And in tonight's successful Fijian segment, we meet the man behind the socks business in Suva. Stay with us.
Ranalika, o tikongona taon na Singatoka, ando talitaka na wakaronga ng Bull FM, number 2 na sere.
Ya dora subuli kurna bili. Iborani batukara hambara binaranga. Do talitakina na wakaronga ng Bull FM, number 2 na sere. Bula!
Bull FM, number 2 na sere.
A 42-year-old man and a 31-year-old woman have been charged following a drug raid in Lautoka on Thursday. The duo have been charged with 1 count each of being found in possession of illicit drugs. Police Chief of Operations ACP Rusiate Tundravu says the raid was conducted by the West team after they received information. He says the team sought assistance from the Water Authority officials when they suspected the man had disposed of the drugs. The team extracted close to 30 parcels containing marijuana from the sewer lines at the men's residence. The two will appear at the Lautoka Magistrates Court tomorrow. And meanwhile, police are warning drug peddlers they will find hidden drugs as operations step up on those involved in drug-related activities. Police Chief of Operations ACP Rusiate Tundravu says dealers and peddlers will explore all possible ways to hide their illegal activities. He also says they will reach out to every government department, private and public entities to achieve their fight against drugs. The Fiji Roads Authority recently discovered there's less street lights in the country. Chief Executive Jonathan Moore says most street lights are old, while some don't work anymore. Kelly Vidala reports.
Walking around areas with no street lights or no proper lights at night can be scary and at times makes you vulnerable to crime. The FRA is looking at areas where there is not enough street lights or none at all.
Right now we have 5,900 street poles on order to be installed around the country. Some along Kings Road, some along Queens Road, some in the outlying towns, but a large proportion will be in Nandi and in Suva. So we're taking the accessibility very seriously, and we don't want people walking in the dark.
An area in particular is the Nasesset corridor in Suva, where there are no streetlights along the foreshore. FBC News spoke to Fijians that live in this area and ones that frequently walk through this route, sharing their experiences.
I always, felt this need to keep on looking at the back if somebody was there following or not, and many times I had to turn my mobile on, which was not safe in itself.
No road light here, so it's very dark, so there is a concern about the security because there are some, the road condition is somewhat, the upset.
Definitely when you walk during this time, it's quite dark here, and there's only one street light if you look right towards the end, and then we need more lights.
Lighting is not enough for that pedestrian. Sometimes people tend to meet with an accident.
FRA says they will start 28 projects around Suva in the next 12 months.
Security and safety people is obviously paramount, and we recognise that areas of Suva all over the country are lacking street lighting. There's an extensive street lighting programme being undertaken right now. Many of the street lights in Suva are very old technology.
The lack of street lights along this area is a major concern for many people who use this route in the evenings. Having not enough street lights or none at all is a major safety issue for both pedestrians and motorists. Kelly Vavala, FBC News.
When you live on the streets with no money, crime becomes a big temptation. So to ignore this temptation, 45-year-old Mosese Longaviri decided to start a business from $20, selling socks on the streets in the heart of Suva. Our successful Fijian tonight features the brain behind the sale of socks, razor blade, beanie, earphones and assorted items along the streets of the capital. Akusita Tale has more.
Successful Fijians is brought to you by the Fiji Development Bank, your partner in progress.
Mosese Longaviri made the streets of the capital his home, working as a shoeshine boy when he ran away from his family at the tender age of 9. This helped him observe the kind of life he wanted to live, and it certainly wasn't going to be behind bars.
I knew if I stayed longer in the street, I will get into trouble, so I had to look for ways to get out and save myself. So that's when I thought of selling socks in town, because no one was in this business.
It was on a rainy Friday morning in 2009 when he decided to start a new business on the streets with only $20 to his name.
I used $10 to pay for my license to sell on the street, and the remaining $10 I used to buy a packet of razor blade and $5 worth of Panadol. I started my business that morning, and by afternoon I was able to buy 3 dozen socks.
He's never turned his back on the business he created. However, his own challenge came from his family and friends who turned their backs on him when seeing him selling socks on the street. His business was able to rake in around $700 to $800 daily during bad weather and around $300 to $400 on other days. This was able to help him build his first home in Wailoku.
Once I knew my business was stable, I decided to venture into farming just at the backyard of my new home. I was able to pay for people to come and work on my farm, so I was able to sell my goods again to the supermarket. I would sell from 20 to 50 sacks of cassava to the market.
3 years into the successful running of his business, including farming, Longaviri decided to venture into piggery, starting off with a 6-feet pigsty.
One of the difficulties I faced with this business was that the pigsty was in a lower ground and it was prone to flooding. So when there was bad weather and the pigsty was flooded, I would swim out to save the pigs, and I knew this was going to make me sick, so I decided to build a double-story piggery.
He says it hasn't been an easy journey, but it has all been possible through his firm belief in faith and the strong support from his wife and children. He says this isn't the end of his success story, as he intends to do more, to live the life he never had and be able to supply for his family. His best advice is to never judge a day by the harvest you reap, but by the seeds you plant. Ako si Tatale, FBC News.
Successful Fijians is brought to you by the Fiji Development Bank, your partner in progress.
Ahead in sports, Fiji retains Oceania 7's title. And Rokondunguni stars for England. This and more coming up.
मैं प्रेमिला वायरुकु रेकी रेकी से सुबह मेरी आँख खुलती है तो मैं मिर्ची एफएम सुनती हूँ। मिर्ची एफएम इज नंबर 1। इट्स सो हॉट।
हम लोग बार टाउन के कैरियर ड्राइवर लोगों ने हम लोग के मिर्ची एफएम सुनो अच्छा लगे। मिर्ची एफएम इज हॉट।
हाय, मैं संध्या नायरा रेकी से मेरे सारे दोस्त मिर्ची एफएम सुनते हैं। मिर्ची एफएम इज हॉट। आई लव मिर्ची एफएम।
हमें स्पिन टको ताबुआ के मिर्ची एफएम में सबसे अच्छा गाना बजे।
मिर्ची एफएम इट्स हॉट।
The Fiji Airways national side has retained the Oceania 7's title after thrashing New Zealand 26 points to 0 in the final last night. Nipi Wesen Nadungu was the hero of the side, scoring a brace of tries in the game. Vashnil Prasad tells us more.
It was going to be an epic final at the ANZ Stadium in Suva. Arch rivals Fiji taking on New Zealand under a heavy downpour. Fiji started with a bang and got the first 2 tries to its name through Kalina Soko and Waisea Dungu.
I'd like to thank the Lord for the strength that enabled us to win this tournament. And I would like to thank my teammate for the team effort.
14-0 at the break, and 2 more tries in the second spell sealed the game for the Fijians. For skipper Jerry Tuai, it was a sweet victory on home soil.
A win would boost their morale in the preparation for the first leg of World Series.
Coach Gareth Beiba says the 2 days of tournament has helped him identify new players that can play in the World Rugby 7 Series Tour next month.
They get a glut of 10 or 12 players that suddenly put their hands up. You're going to get 3s and 4s, and you know, for the next 2 or 3 years of Fijian Rugby 7s, I need to make sure that that talent comes through.
Dubai Sevens is up next, and the national team hopes to kick off with a winning mode in the new season. Vashnil Prasad, FBC Sports.
Meanwhile, the Fiji Airways Fijiana 7 side finished 3rd in the tournament after beating Papua New Guinea by 39 points to 0. The side were bundled out of the semi-final after New Zealand came strong, but they came strong against PNG in the 3rd place playoff. The 4th place finish for PNG means they qualify to the Sydney and Hong Kong 7s next year. And the New Zealand 7 side took out the women's title, defeating Australia 12 points to 5 in the final. Black Ferns winger Portia Woodman was the standout player, scoring 9 tries in the 2-day tournament. They now turn its focus on the Dubai 7s next month. And the Fiji Airways Flying Fijian side has lost its first test match in the autumn tour, going down to Italy by 19 points to 10 in Catania this morning. The side were locked at 10-all at the interval. Fiji's only try was scored by Leone Nakarawa, while Ben Volavola, who was sin-binned, converted a penalty and a conversion to add the extras. Coach John McKee says the team made a lot of basic errors, which costed them the game.
Disappointing game for us today against Italy. We just weren't good enough in some key areas of the game, and we weren't able to gain any momentum in the game to put Italy under a lot of pressure.
Fiji-born Filippo Ngunu was the hero of his side as Queensland country defeated Canberra Vikings by 42-28 to win the National Rugby Championship final last night. A hat-trick to Ngunu and a double to skipper Duncan Paia'awa were the highlights of the game. The Wallabies secured a 29-21 victory over Wales this morning. Tries from Tatafu Polotanau, Adam Coleman, Michael Hopper and Kurtley Beale proved too much for the Welsh side.
With the catch, here comes the drive, and Australia have a clear advantage. Polotanau has the ball, they're over. Wales defend desperately, and it's there for Adam Coleman to score. There's an overlap here if Hooper can find Hodge. Hooper, is he short? Is he over? Try awarded. Gets away from Foley and from Kurindrani.
Oh, what a tackle that is. He's
Kurtley
away.
Beale comes away with it. Everybody went with the dummy ball, and Kurtley Beale scores for Australia.
Fiji-born Semesa Rokondunguni and Nathan Hughes scored the tries for England and their 21 points to 8 win over Argentina. Here are the two tries.
Forward again. Oh, it's a lovely long ball. Listen to the crowd. Look at the run. A score to get the series up and running. And look at the smile too for Nathan Hughes. Care again. Vunipola forward. Might be an extra man now. Waiting is Semesa Rokondunguni.
Tonga has created Rugby League World Cup history with a stunning 28-22 point victory over Giants New Zealand following an extraordinary second-half display yesterday. This means the Vodafone Fiji Mbati will play the Kiwis in the next quarter-final next weekend. Well, the Kangaroos continue with its winning run after beating Lebanon 34 points to 0 and the final pool match last night. Samoa has also advanced to the Rugby League World Cup quarter-finals despite failing to win a game after a 14-all draw with Scotland in Cairns. The Samoans were forced to come from behind against the lightly rated Scots with 2 second-half tries securing a draw and third spot in Group B. Showers and few thunderstorms was experienced over most parts of the country today. A trough of low pressure with associated cloud and rain continues to affect the Fiji group. Looking at the west, heavy rain from last night cleared up this morning with a few sunshine in Nandi, Lotoka and Ba. However, rain continued to pour in Singatoka. Eastwards, from Pacific Harbour to Suva, there were occasional showers and few thunderstorms. There was a few sunshine in the capital this morning. However, heavy rain began pouring after midday. And up in the north, it was cool and cloudy in Savusavu, Lambasa and Nambawalu. At sea, northerly winds 15 to 20 knots, moderate to rough seas, moderate southerly swells. Poor visibility was experienced in areas of heavy rain and thunderstorms. The next high tide is at 3:20 a.m. with low tide at 9:15 a.m. Sunrise is at 6:27. And the outlook for tomorrow, there will be rain and a few thunderstorms in all the major centres. Remember to take an umbrella as you head out to work and school for the next few days. Now looking further on to Monday, some showers over most places is expected. Northerly winds 15 to 20 knots, moderate to rough seas are expected as well. Recapping the main stories, climate assessment study highlights Fiji's vulnerabilities. Non-state actors reaffirm their climate commitments. And heavy rain causes flooding in Suva area. For these stories and others, you can tune in daily to our sister radio station Gold FM. To our poll question, this week we're asking, do you think Fiji's role in COP23 is starting to benefit other small island states? Visit our FBC website to answer. Do send us newsworthy pictures and videos on email, fbcnews@fbc.com.fj, or share it with us via our Facebook page, FBC News, or you can also follow and tweet us your news tips at FBC News, or simply hashtag FBC News. And that was your FBC News for tonight. Until next time, good night.
मैं प्रेमिला वायरुकू रेकी रेकी से सुबह मेरी आँख खुलती है तो मैं मिर्ची एफएम सुनती हूँ। मिर्ची एफएम इज नंबर 1। इट्स सो हॉट।
हम लोग बार टाउन के कैरियर ड्राइवर लोगों ने हम लोग के मिर्ची एफएम सुनो अच्छा लगे। मिर्ची एफएम इज हॉट।
हाय, मैं संध्या नारियल रेफ्रिकी से। मेरे सारे दोस्त मिर्ची एफएम सुनते हैं। मिर्ची एफएम इज हॉट, आई लव मिर्ची एफएम।
हमें इस दिन तक हुआ कि मिर्ची एफएम में सबसे अच्छा गाना बजे।
Mirchi FM, it's hot.